Hello, BookTube. I have a tag for you today on Tag Wednesday. I did a tag yesterday. I did the small booktuber tag yesterday. And I went on a rant. I didn't even get to question number one. I went on a rant that lasted probably an hour and 15 minutes. I was in an altered state of consciousness. I was a long time before I even realized that I'm actually supposed to be making a video, and I deleted it. I had to delete it. And there was no time. My day caught up with me. There was no time to make another tag. I thought I'll just give it a miss. But then David Wiley made an original tag and tagged me, which almost never happens because I am an outcast on BookTube. I am a pariah. I am a leper. But he tagged me, so I've got it on the iPad mini here. I thought we'd go through it. It's the Extraordinarily Average Tag. I'll leave a link to David's video. It's a wonderful tag. Question number one is, what is a book that is viewed as average, but you felt was extraordinary? And here, the first two questions are a problem for me because viewed by who? Okay, viewed by who? The only correct answer to that question is me. Not even my fellow critics, just me. Steve is always right. So I have no idea. I have no idea, nor do I care, what is viewed as a masterpiece or what is viewed by average. I'm going to assess that on my own, and then I'm going to tell you on my own. I don't care what anybody else says. So I had a hard time grappling with this, and then I thought, well, okay, one type of book that tends to be dismissed as no good is books in series. The first book, maybe. But people usually dismiss later books in series as definitely being derivative of the first book, and certainly being derivative of the whole of the genre. And I thought up one of those. Death in a Strange Country by Donna Leone is the second of her Commissario Brunetti Venetian murder mysteries. And I thought it was much more effective than her first book in the series. Much more textured, much more adult. Classic Venetian murder mystery setup, a body that's fished out of a canal. But I thought it got more complex and faster and more rewardingly than many of the other books in that series. And if you looked at that series, you might think, well, I might read the first one, but the others will all be just carbon copies of the same thing. So that's a kind of an answer for that one. Then number two is, who is an author who's viewed as average that you felt is extraordinary? Again, viewed by who? I don't care what the consensus on Goodreads says. I'm the consensus. I'm the one. If you want to know whether an author is in fact average, simply ask me. And don't go by what's viewed. But again, I thought I cast around for an idea of what would work, and a hugely prolific author is often dismissed as someone who can't possibly be really good, when actually that's not true. A hugely prolific author can still be really good at times. They'll never be universally good, but they can be good at times. And one name that came up in that regard is Alan Dean Foster, who's written a lot of for-the-money paycheck stuff that is only average, but he's also written some standout good stuff, really, really good stuff. And not always his original work. Sometimes his genuinely good stuff is an adaptation of something or other. So I won't say that I don't know that he's viewed as average. Maybe he is, but I think he's better than he's typically given credit for being. Then question number three is, who is a musician or a band whose music is considered average but that you felt was extraordinary? And here it's easy, because one of my favorite kinds of music is Baroque classical music. And that is typically viewed, in fact, classical music fans themselves will often call it elevator music. So I'm talking about Corelli, Tartini, Galuppi, Gimignani, people like that, the composers like that. The most famous of them is Vivaldi. Even Vivaldi, most people don't know the bulk of his work. They know just one work. And it's all amazing. Scarlatti, both of them, are amazing. How many people knows them? And it is all very different, too. Once you start to listen to enough of it, you can easily tell Scarlatti from Corelli or whatever. And that's a perfect example. People look at that, and if you're not a classical music fan, you're thinking, this is all utterly indistinguishable. It's meant to be background music. And a lot of it was composed exactly for that purpose, but there's still a huge amount of genius in it. So I'm going to say Baroque classical music. Then number four is, what is a TV show or movie that is considered average that you felt was extraordinary? And here I jotted down something that only lasted for one season. It was the spin-off of a spin-off. So naturally it was going to be considered utterly derivative. It was Raven, Highlander, the Raven, which was a spin-off of the TV show Highlander that was quite good, and that was itself a spin-off of the movie Highlander with Christopher Lambert. That wasn't all that good. The original Highlander movie is not all that good. But the Highlander TV show is quite good. and builds to a huge climax at the final season. And there was a spin-off, a female character, played by Elizabeth Grayson, and the hunky male interest is Paul Johansson. And the spin-off is called The Raven. And I thought it was quite good, quite witty, totally different in tone and tenor from the Highlander TV show, but still really worthwhile. I don't think it's remembered. I'm pretty sure it was never out on DVD. I don't think it had any spin-off novels of any kind. Probably you could find stories in fanfiction.net, but I think otherwise it's largely forgotten. And yet I thought it had quality to it. I could go there are many examples like this that I could do, including Going to Extremes, a one-season wonder by the creator of Northern Exposure. Going to Extremes is wonderful. And good luck finding it. It's totally gone. Then question number 5 is, what is a booktube channel whose subscriber count is average, but you feel is extraordinary? Here I want to pick Jonathan Koan. I'll leave a link to his channel. He just takes you through. He has a nice big microphone, but he's talking directly to you. There's no spin or polish or fakeness. He's just taking you through the vast amount of books that he buys, the vast amount of books that he reads. This great, enticing bookcase behind him. Heavy reader of fantasy and science fiction. I'll leave a link. His channel is quite good. He has, I think, a couple of thousand subscribers. So not stratospheric at all. Then number 6 is, what is a skill you're average at, but that you'd like to become extraordinary at? I'm going to say sketching. And I'm never going to be extraordinary at it because I sketch for an hour every day. I have for 175,000 years. I still am no better. I'm a little bit better than I was when I started. I have piles and piles of sketches from going back decades. I'm a little bit better. Entirely self-taught. Never took a class or anything like that. Never really looked at a book. I try to break new ground. I try to do different things. Just pencil sketching on clean paper. That's all. And I would love it if I woke up one morning and that all of that practice jumped me up a level. But I don't think it's ever going to happen. I just don't think I have the talent. I don't think I have the eye. Then number 7 is, you find a time machine that will take you back in time for a day. But the day you select must be an average day. Where would you go and what would you do to make the trip extraordinary? It's a great idea. It's entirely possible that I would do that. Hell, I might even do that as a ritual once every year. And I know what I would do. I would pick an average day. I know exactly what I would do. I would be on the kitchen floor playing with my best friend, the best friend I've ever had in my life. And over my shoulder, while I was playing with that one beagle, I'd be chatting with me sainted ma over her aches and pains or whatever. Nothing earth-shaking. Not the first day I met my boy. Not anything like that. Nothing earth-shaking at all. It would just be that. It would just be that. I wouldn't go to the Globe Theater. I wouldn't go to the Library of Alexandria. I wouldn't go to the sinking of the Titanic. I would go there. There is nothing more important in life than ordinary average days. And they're gone. When they're gone, they're not coming back. And that's what I would do. I would go. I would hear what's on the radio on the kitchen table. I would listen to her. I would play with him. I'd smell him again. And that would be that. That whole day. We'd go for walks. Me sainted ma would make supper. I would make fun of her supper. We would eat together. We would chat about the day. I would do a lot of reading. Just an average day. Question number 8 is, you win a week vacation, but all the hot travel spots are booked out. Where would you go and what would you do to make the trip extraordinary? I would go to Keokuk, Iowa, which is not anyone's vacation destination, just an ordinary town in Iowa. I would go to Keokuk, Iowa on a beautiful high summer day. The sun rises long before 5 and seems never to want to set. And when maybe the air is off the Mississippi and everybody in town knows you and you know everybody in town, and maybe I would spend a lot of time in the used bookstore, or I would go to the library for a while, or I'd play with a bunch of dogs, mine and other people's dogs. Just an ordinary day. Just an ordinary day in a lovely Iowa town on a beautiful summer afternoon. That's where I would go. Even if the higher profile travel destinations weren't booked out, that's where I'd go. And then you tag some channels. And here I want to tag Gina Stanier, Sue's Book Nook, Britta Bowler, and also Micah Cummins. I'll just tag 4 of my favorite booktubers and we'll see what they make of this. And I'll leave a link to their channels down below. So that is the Extraordinarily Average book tag, which I hope you all do. It's David Wiley doesn't make booktube tags often enough, so I'm hoping that he does one for Edmund Spencer. He's not going to do that. who is? but I was very happy to be tagged, especially since, I smell. So that is my tag. I'm a day late, but at least I get to do a tag, whereas yesterday's tag had to be burned in the backyard. So I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.